gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 18th of May 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comment. In the headlines today, the first batch of BlizzCon tickets will go on sale this Saturday, that's May the 21st, at 10 AM Pacific time. My calculations are correct, that would be 1 PM Eastern Standard Time, that would also be 6 PM British Time, and 7 PM Central European Time. There will also be a second batch available that's going on sale Wednesday, May the 25th. If you are interested in getting involved in the pre-BlizzCon charity dinner, which is fairly pricey, but obviously all of the proceeds for that do go to charity, that's to benefit the Children's Hospital of Orange County. The tickets for that will be going on sale on the 28th of May. That's also a Saturday at 10 PM Pacific Standard Time. Blizzard has announced that they're looking to put in some new functionality into the Dungeon Finder, which will allow you to group with specific people cross-realm. However, it looks like in order to do that, you're going to have to pay money, and by the sounds of it, it's going to be an additional fee on top of your subscription. It will allow players to invite people from their real ID friends list from the same faction into a 5-man regular or heroic dungeon. The person who does the inviting will need to pay for the premium service. I have to assume it's going to be subscription-based. I don't see it being microtransactions. That doesn't make any real sense there. But once again, I have to be very disappointed by the fact that this system, which will of course be fully automated, just like every other one of these systems, will actually cost a monthly fee. If this was their response to the 600,000 players leaving the game, then I certainly don't think it was the right one. No doubt you will get a more vocal and perhaps louder impression of this particular feature on Blue Please on Friday over on cynicalbrit.com. The legendary staff coming in at patch 4.2 has been updated in terms of its stat. You can see the old and new versions there. What's happened is they've taken the crit and replaced it with haste, and they've also confirmed the proc, which will be the Wrath of Taragoza, which duplicates a harmful spell. They've also confirmed that this staff will of course be bind on pickup. That's probably for the best. I could just see a rush in gold buying as someone desperately tries to get their hands on this legendary for 500 million gold. Blizzard has released more information on the Arena Pass, that's the Arena Realms, and now is the time to set up your characters and prepare them for the ranked ladder phase, which starts on June the 8th. All of the information you could possibly need to get started over there is in the description below this video. Latest round of EU community news has been released, including Polish site wowcenter.pl that have done a series of interviews with the top 10 Polish PvE guilds, including the latest interview with the guild Hypnosis. They've also translated the latest Ask the Devs, and we've also got the Hungarian site wow-hungary.com that's featured the latest few episodes of Nubtales Season 2, and the Czech and Slovak site wowfan.cz has previewed the upcoming Encounter Journal feature currently on the PTRs. All that including a roundup of this week's comics and noteworthy forum threads available in the description below this video. The US equivalent of the Community News Roundup, which is not quite as good, goes by the name of the Explorers League Journal, and most of this actually contains a roundup of articles released over on the Blizzard website over the last week or so, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll find a couple of community-based features, including a set of comics, as well as some music, machinima, and around the community articles. You can check them all out in the description below this video. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. Low Angel seems to be of the opinion that Ask the Devs is hoodwinking the community. That's an interesting view, and he backs that up by saying that some of the answers to the Ask the Devs questions do not contain a definitive yes. Right. So his justification for this is because a bunch of people voted a question up on the forums, it obviously means that the entire player base definitely wants this, so they should absolutely get on it right away. And because they are sometimes saying, well, no, or we have it in mind, but we're not willing to commit just yet, that the entire thing is a sham. Right. Oh my. I'll let Nethera answer this one, and there are an awful lot of posts on this particular matter. This one is fairly relevant, however, and she says that the Q&As are designed to answer the top-rated questions that the community has, and sometimes the questions asked aren't the ones that we can answer directly, but we do try. The choice is to either pretend they don't exist, even after being upvoted, or to try and answer them with a lack of commitment. So, yeah, that's reasonable, honestly. And what Nethera then goes on to say is that they're trying to give some insight into the actual development process. Therein lies the problem, really, Nethera. You guys are trying to educate the player base when all the player base really wants is a direct line to the developers to try and press for changes that they and a small vocal minority of other people would actually like. I mean, the idea, for instance, that listening to the forums is a good plan is in itself ridiculous. You've got the people that post on the forums are also a very small vocal minority of the people that actually play the game. It's very difficult to properly judge how the game population would react to certain changes based on what the guys on the forums say. We already know that the forums aren't that great a place for feedback anyway. And then Low Angel with the stupidest response I could ever possibly think. The old saying, the customer's always right, should ring true a little bit, shouldn't it? No, it shouldn't, as anyone that's ever worked customer service will tell you. Oh my god, yeah, that phrase coined by Gordon Selfridge, if I recall correctly, and he died penniless, as I recall, but there you go. Whatever the case, you know how many customers Blizzard has for World of Warcraft? 12 million. You know how many customers you are? 1. You know how many customers upvoted that question? Not a clue, because the Blizzard forums now have absolutely no measurable metrics of any description, but whatever the case, I can tell you for a fact that it was significantly less than 12 million. So unless you are able to gather over 6 million people to say, hey, I want this, then no, the customer is not always right. In fact, the customer is rarely ever right. An individual customer's opinions are completely irrelevant. I know this from experience, trust me. And as I said before, anyone that's ever worked in retail or customer service is well aware of just how terrible that phrase actually is. There's absolutely no reason to tread any further into this thread because you know exactly how it's going to end up. Post over on the US forums by Daxari reminds you if you happen to use the same or indeed a similar password for your Battle.net account as you did for PlayStation Network and the Curiosity service, then it is highly recommended that you change it as quickly as possible via the account management system. The link to do all of that is of course in the description below this video, and if you have any problems with your account being compromised, there's also a link to the web form right there to get things sorted out. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. This quest over in the Twilight Highlands illustrates a little bit of redundancy as far as I'm concerned. You are asked to distract them, and in doing so, you have to kill 3 named mobs, or at least weaken them enough for Garona Half-Orcan to traipse in there and finish them off. The thing is, you beat them into a bloody pulp anyway. You really didn't need her help. Seems to me like nothing but a bunch of kill-stealing from Garona Half-Orcan there. I am not impressed. Thank you very much. KSing. It's terrible. Next shall be spawn camping. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. This is Mod Your WoW. Now, we are doing Mod Your WoW right now because my researcher is currently a bit ill, so he was unable to finish all of the research for Silvermoon City, which will be the next subject, so that should be coming along tomorrow. So we're going to have a look at 3 mods today, as usual. The first one I've got up for you goes by the name of Genie, and this is a bag, bank, and guild bank sorting mod. And as far as I can tell, this should interface with any other bag mod that you happen to have. It's pretty much automated like the old Bag Gnome, I think it used to be called. And it can also do the guild bank, and is highly configurable. So you can set up all sorts of different sorting things. What it also has is the ability to automatically stack upon certain automatic events, which is quite nice. So if you ever go to a vendor, then as soon as you get out of the vendor, the mod will detect whether or not there's anything to consolidate, and it'll stack it all up for you. So it seems pretty nice. Admittedly, the configuration is not as user-friendly as it could be, but if you're looking for something that should keep your bags in order, you could certainly do worse than picking up Genie. The second mod should be very useful for anyone that happens to be a guild master or an officer. It goes by the name of Guild Debt, and this is an add-on that automatically tracks any and all cash withdrawals from the guild bank and lists them under a new tab under the guild screen. You can see a list of who's withdrawn what, and that of course stays on there regardless of the guild log scrolling. Admittedly, you do need to go to the guild bank every now and again to make sure that your guild log is up to date. It won't do that automatically. There's no way of doing that, which is kind of annoying and stupid and unfortunate. But whatever the case, you can also send that information to any chat as you desire. So it is certainly useful. Admittedly, I would like to see a feature whereby any member could query the guild bank add-on to find out exactly how much they owe. That would be nice, and I think that's definitely worthwhile. The add-on is still in beta, so there are features to be added, but I could certainly see it being very useful for GMs and officers. The final mod is nice and simple, and it goes by the name of Fastmark, and it is an alternative to the Blizzard raid frames, so you can have a little window up that allows you to quickly mark something with a raid target marker whenever you like. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any UI for binding those marks to anything, which would be kind of nice. It would be pretty awesome to have all of that in one window, so it's a little bit easier to configure, but it's a fairly basic mod that might do something that you would perhaps find useful if you don't want to use the Blizzard raid frames. All of these mods are available to download from Curse, and the links are in the description below this video. And with that, it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from an anonymous viewer who says, "Hey TB, I was wondering, what do you think the percentage of online posters that play to actual content players actually is? I've been seeing a lot of, oh, you lost 600,000 subscribers because the content is boring, and a lot of the usual complaining posts. My guildies are still pretty content with WoW, same with myself, and I would guess still a good chunk of people is as well. And WoW hasn't gone through a huge shutdown. Granted, 600,000 is no small penny, but I think there's more reasons why other than I hate this game, can't pay for it anymore, bots wanting to put that money into trying a new game, etc. Anyway, it always seems that those people are louder on the forums than the small percentage that don't hate every aspect of WoW to hate it. And of course, the content people that actually still enjoy WoW, which is disheartening, probably more so for Blizzard. Going back to my question, how much of the WoW population do you think is actually represented by the people posting on the forums like MMO, Champion, and the official WoW forums? And do you think that Blizzard should possibly try and find ways to get feedback from their quiet but content customers? Well, to be fair, there's not a lot of feedback you can really get from content people. Well, we'd like your feedback in this game. Yeah, everything's fine. What, the damn problem? No, it's cool. Well, you can't improve that way. Improving comes from constructive criticism. And while there are certainly people capable of doing that, the people you really need to be talking to are the people that love the game, have played it for a while, but also see that the game is not perfect. I don't think people hate the game in the way that you think that they do. I really don't believe that. You don't play a game for ages and then suddenly hate it. Hate is an incredibly strong emotion. And with World of Warcraft, it's often associated with people who have never actually played the game and hate what it represents as opposed to what it actually is. I don't think that these people hate the game. I certainly don't, but I criticize the game an awful lot. I actually really liked the game. It was an MMO that I got into and played for 6 years, and I'm still playing it. So I do like the game. But there are a lot of problems with it, and I want to see the game get better, not worse, which is why I criticize. As to listening to the forums and what kind of numbers they represent, there's no way to tell now, of course, because they've turned off all the metrics. You can't even see the amount of views a thread has, so it's really hard to estimate. But it's easy to say that it's going to be a vocal minority of people posting on that forum, on MMO Champion, or indeed in any other community. It's always going to be the minority of people. You don't see 1 million active posters over on MMO Champion, and even if there were, that's still less than 10% of the playing population, so they're still a minority. That's what happens when you have such a large player base. I think what Blizzard should probably look into is using a system that they've been using in the beta testing and on the PTR, which is a feedback system. Now, that feedback system allows you to rate various things, and there's also something called Darknet, which has been put together by a company that made a game called Hydrophobia Prophecy. You might have seen a WTF is on my channel of that. That allows you to put in context-sensitive feedback, both good and bad, to any specific part of the game. It would be really great to see a system like that in WoW, so that people could say, look, I really like this. I would like to see more of this kind of thing, or this was bad because... That more direct feedback, and indeed the bite-sized feedback that's context-sensitive, I find to be much more useful than the noise that goes on the forums. This one comes in from Scorty that says, "Hey TB, I want to know what you think regarding the price of the previous expansions. I came back to WoW for a few months last November when my friends wanted me to play again. I become separated, and thankfully Blizzard had their Give the Gift of WoW thing, which reduced the price of the expansions to $5, $5, and then $10 for WoW, TBC, and Wrath respectively. I got the original game in a free month for only $5. I later became very upset when I found out they were only doing that for Cyber Monday. My main point of all of this is to say that I think it's dumb to have to pay over $100 just to get up to the current expansion, plus whatever subscription one decides on. I can understand the price being what it is as soon as the new expansion comes out, but I do not think older expansions that nobody plays anymore are worth the original cost. Do you think the prices are too high for the old expansions, or am I just asking for something that's unreasonable?" Well, I don't think you're asking for anything unreasonable. Admittedly, the whole over $100 thing is inaccurate. You can actually buy everything on the US store right now, I think for about $92. That will get you everything. I'm fairly sure I tried that a couple of days ago. I think it's about £65 on the UK side. It's also very possible to get a box copy of Burning Crusade for about £5. I don't know what it would be in dollars. And we've got Wrath the Lich King here is actually still kind of pricey, honestly. I'm looking at Wrath, and the cheapest is about £20. So it is a bit dodgy that an expansion that old, like say Wrath of the Lich King, would still be costing £20, which is about $30 to $35-ish, by the way, for comparison's sake. And I think the digital copies on the Blizzard store could be way cheaper than they are. I really, really do. If you buy everything together, you can get it for about $95. $95 is a fairly ridiculous amount of money, especially when it's like, right, you're getting started in this MMO game. Okay, well, you're going to pay a subscription, and yeah, here's a $95 outlay to make sure that you get access to everything. At which point you turn around and go, what? Come on, $95? Really? That's unjustifiably expensive. As far as I'm concerned, they definitely should reduce the price of the older expansions. Absolutely have Cataclysm be full price, no problem. I have no problem paying for large amounts of content in the form of expansions. I do have a problem with people coming into the game that are having to then pay a lot of money for old content that they can't really enjoy. Because let's be honest, people paid for the expansion experience and they got a full 2 years worth when they bought it at the time. Now, you're not going to get to go and do those dungeons. You don't get to enjoy that kind of stuff. To you, the Burning Crusade is simply a way to unlock Draenei and unlock Blood Elves and to plow through the leveling content, which is no fun to anyone. So yes, they should reduce it without question, and I do believe it's money grubbing. To those who say, oh, well, I paid this much back in the day, so everyone else should have to. Well, I don't think you really understand how economics actually work, or indeed how sales work, or products that become less valuable over time work. You don't pay the same now for a game that came out several years ago as you did on release day. That's simply the price of early adoption, and you got to enjoy the content more than this guy did, so there you go. Okay, folks, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching Azeroth Daily. I would appreciate a thumbs up and a favorite if you happen to like it. That's very much appreciated, although it's, of course, entirely optional, so do what you feel is best. I'll be back hopefully a little bit earlier tomorrow with yet more news and comment. My name is TotalBiscuit, and I will see you next time.